less than 2 seconds after arriving on the scene. Police say officers didn't know the weapon was a pellet gun and that they warned him before shooting. A sheriff's investigation found no evidence of a warning. And Tamir Rice's father is speaking out with MSNBC's Tremaine Lee.
What kind of memories do you hold on to about Tamir?
The ranking on each other, talking about each other, we'd be laughing about that, playing the video games.
Where do you feel him most?
In my heart.
In your heart?
Mm-hmm.
Is that tough to feel him in there and not here?
Real tough.
Joining me now is veteran prosecutor Paul Henderson. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be here, Reverend.
Paul, the prosecutor says the investigation could be finished in a matter of months. What's your take on that?
Well, obviously, what he's talking about is his decision to use the grand jury. And we've talked about this before. The prosecutor at any time can charge on his own initiative and proceed by way of preliminary hearing for charges like this. And so saying that it's going to be extended by a matter of months means that he's going to present the evidence to a grand jury to seek an indictment and to seek criminal charges, rather than just filing the charges himself and presenting them in front of a judge. And we've heard commentary from side judges talking about what they think could happen on the evidence. But I think it's going to be interesting watching how this evidence unfolds, specifically with potential charges against the driver, the field training officer in this case, because it's not just the shooter that we're examining. There could be negligent homicide charges with the field investigating officer coming to that location and coming up so close in an isolated park for someone that they thought was a suspect with the gun. So that's going to be part of the analysis and part of what the grand jury is going to be evaluating as they determine charges in this case from a criminal perspective.
But this seems to be taking so long. In fact, you had one judge that the family's attorney had went to get an advisory, and in a week he came back and made some very clear remarks here. Tamir Rice's mother, she spoke about the pace of the investigation 6 months after the shooting. Watch this.
Less than a second, my son is gone, and I want to know how long I got to wait for justice.
It's now been 7 months since Tamir Rice was shot. Is there pressure within the community to get this done sooner?
There's absolutely that pressure from the community. And again, this is a terrible tragedy, and we see, again, another African-American that has been killed after an encounter with law enforcement. And so the analysis now has shifted onto the prosecution yet again to make a decision as to how they are going to proceed. And that's with the criminal analysis, because they always have the option of charging independently aside from the grand jury, but we still have the civil charges to contemplate as well. And that's a whole separate analysis and a separate track.
Well, what is your take on this new so-called enhanced video?
Well, the enhanced video is going to be used when they analyze what a reasonable officer would have done under those facts and circumstances. And so what's going to come into play is the information about whether or not they had the information from the caller himself that made the call initially that said that there was a suspect that could have been a kid with a fake gun. Did they know that? Did they analyze that? How and when did he make the decision to shoot in under 2 seconds? Was that reasonable? Was there a zone of danger? These are the questions that are going to be asked, and now, as the prosecutor has indicated, are going to be presented to a grand jury for them to determine whether or not a reasonable officer, not just this officer, a reasonable officer under those facts and under those circumstances would have acted the same way and would have truly believed that he was either in danger, the officer, or that Tamir was a danger to others. And that's going to be a tough question, I think, from a defense perspective to try and defend, because we've all seen the video. If the video is even clearer than the video that we've already seen, that doesn't help us answer those questions any easier.
Paul Henderson, thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me, Reverend.
Coming up, millions of people have something to celebrate after today's Obamacare decision. Here's just one of them at the court. I'll talk to her next.
Thanks for calling Angie's List. How may I help you?
I heard I could call Angie's List if I needed work done around my house at a fair price.
You heard right. Just tell us what you need done, and we'll find a top